what Kamala Harris and what Joe Biden have said in regards to Black Lives Matter, which essentially adopts many of the things that you talk about in Cynical Theories. How do you reconcile in your own mind supporting them when you know that they actually support ideas that you repudiate in Cynical Theories?
Firstly, there are a lot of other issues as well.
So you're basically prioritizing issues. You're saying, okay, I understand that they support these things that I abhor, but there's other things that they promote that I support. So you're saying you have a number of choices in terms of policies. You're going to choose to focus on what you believe to be, I would say, in the economic realm, and deal with the fact that you have challenges with their support for things like Black Lives Matter and
there's two issues there. One of them is that the Democratic platform is certainly a lot more than the elements of it that support critical social justice. And I think that on balance, it is better for American people than the Republican platform. But there's also the fact that Biden himself is not a critical social justice advocate. He has given some worrying lip service to it, but he has said that he will be a president for all Americans. Now, I was a huge fan of Obama, and particularly the way in which he criticized wokeism and the idea that if a black student carrying a book is acting white, he was what I would call a liberal humanist. And Biden, as his vice president, I think did well. So I do not think Biden is this radical activist. I think Harris has made some alarming comments. I'm particularly worried about AOC and her plan to create a list of Trump supporters, which sounds, sort of approaching Maoist.
Like China.
Yeah,
that's as we were talking before this. My whole experience has been focused on China and in particular the Chinese Communist Party, how they have used control of the narrative to define truth within China, and that has been a very oppressive environment. And what you're describing is the beginnings, at least it seems on its face to be the beginnings of something very similar in the West. And I'm guessing, based on the fact that you're from the UK, that it's not just in the US, it's also happening in Europe and other democracies. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I tried to attend a symposium called Decolonize STEM, where I intended to argue that actually saying that science and maths and STEM generally is a white Western male thing is actually a bit sexist and racist. And I was uninvited from this symposium because my views would apparently make everybody else unsafe. So yeah, we have.
You're a very threatening person.
I'm terrifying apparently. So yeah, that we have the same problem here. It's not as overt, and I think to a certain extent this comes down to a difference in national character. Americans simply are more straightforward and direct. This is why I look a lot at what the American theorists and activists are saying, because they are explicit. They will come straight to the point. Here in the UK, it's a lot more insidious. You're less likely to be called out publicly as a racist, and our politicians are less likely to say really radical things, but you're just sort of likely to get quietly sidelined, fired, failed. So we have the same problem with a different kind of character to it. And of course, we have a problem with critical race theory being imposed on UK culture, where it is even less helpful than it is in the US, because it simply doesn't work. We will hear anti-racists use the term BIPOC, which means Black, Indigenous, and people of colour. Now, BIPOC doesn't work in the UK. Indigenous Britons are not people of colour. This isn't something that makes any sense, but it's being transported wholesale onto our political culture.
So now it's been taken. So a term that kind of was developed for the United States is being impressed upon the UK, which has a completely different history.
Yeah, we have our own racial problems. We have a very recent colonial past in which we exploited about a third of the world. And so, yeah, we have to deal with that. But we don't, most of the people that the UK exploited don't actually live here. So we have a different situation to the ongoing racial issues that you have in the US. And I think I have some sympathy with some of your theorists, people like Michelle Alexander, for example. It is undoubtedly true that Black Americans have not had the opportunity to rise within that capitalist system that you support until a couple of generations ago. So it isn't really surprising that they haven't caught up as a group yet. And it's not, I think, unethical to look into and support programs to help them actually do that.